Welcome to the Ultimate Sacrifice Show, where combat veterans and Gold Star families have a voice.
All right, welcome to episode 5 of the Ultimate Sacrifice Show. Today, we have Big Joe Middlebrooks, a.k.a. Havoc 7, a.k.a. Art by Havoc. Dude, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, man, no problem, man. Anything for you.
Likewise. I like to hear that, man. So me and Joe served at the 10th Mountain together, and he was kind of like our saving grace, being an infantry mortarman. Whenever we were on the ground, especially in the scout platoon, let's say you go out on a long mission. For anyone who doesn't know exactly what an infantry mortarman does, let's say we go out on a long mission and we're pinned down somewhere, it doesn't matter where it is, in valley, behind a pair of rocks, behind a wall. Joe and his boys are on the ground. You would call back to them and they can kind of send off mortars and lay down some suppression so he can save our ass, essentially. But listen, man, I'll let you take it away. And I like to start off with asking everyone kind of what compelled you to serve, what led you into the military.
Yeah, so actually, what led me into the military, I went to, I lived in Japan since the 8th grade, and I graduated there, and I came back to New York, and ended up getting, not into some trouble, but you know, some things that made me leave New York, and ended up joining the army, and joined the army back in '05. First duty station was Fort Bliss, Texas, in '05, and then, it's funny how you get to your first duty station and like months later you're deploying. It's like I got to El Paso and they were standing this unit up. It was 4th Cab that came out of Fort Hood, and they ended up Fort Bliss. So I got to Fort Bliss. There's no grass at Fort Bliss, dude. It's all sand. So, we were running through the sand, and we had this one of these high-speed NCOs. He was from the 25th. He was all light infantry, and all he wanted to do was run. So he would be like, go to the arms room and get the mortar tubes out. And we're all like, what? So, like, dude, we were trying to do a 5-mile run with a 120 mortar tube, and it didn't. We got like, we got to the stop sign at the street and turned around and put it back in arms. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff. But we ended up deploying, went to Missoula, 15 months. So did 15 months there, and your first deployment. It was my first deployment, but everyone around me, those older guys, it was like their third, fourth deployment, and since 9/11, so it's like you look up to those guys to be your mentors and stuff. And first I didn't understand it, and then once you keep deploying, and then you end up being a leader, and people be like, Sergeant Middlebrooks, why aren't you scared out here? And it's like, man, I'm turning into those guys that I looked up to and stuff. So we all got, they say once you leave your first unit, right, and you go to another unit, everybody hates the first unit. But once you go to another unit, you're like, oh, I missed my first unit. It's like every time I had PCS, it was like that. And a lot of people ask me which unit was the best, and I've got a lot of memories with all of them. But like 10th Mountain, man, it's like, I don't know, man. That was everywhere I went was a family, but like 10th Mountain, man, like dude, when we were in Bravo Company together, man, we had a freaking super team, man.
Oh, yeah.
Super team. Like the Castellanos Phillips combo was disgusting. Then you had like you had Morgan and Bass that was nasty. Like we all just meshed together, and so. And I wish JC was here because I've got a lot of stories with that guy, man.
Oh, well,
he was the first person I met there.
Really?
So funny, I had left Fort Lewis back in 2012, and I reenlisted from Drum, because we're all, Jess is all of them from here and stuff. So one of my old squad leaders was in Charlie Company. Do you remember Sergeant Ackerman?
Of course I do.
Yeah. So Ackerman, I was an E4. He was my squad leader at Lewis.
Wow. Holy crap.
So I was like, yo, dude, come to drum, come to drum. And I finally get the drum. First person I meet is Callahan. He's like, oh man, this Sergeant Callahan. He's cool, blah, 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 right? So, we all start kicking. The next person I met was Myers. Remember Sergeant Myers?
Yeah, of course I do, man.
So
How can I
Myers,
forget?
I, I had like signed in and stuff, and I'm in PTs, and he's just staring at me, and he's like, dude, you got some big ass arms. And I'm like, so then he goes around. He's like, "Yo, we got a new guy, man. He's huge." You know what I'm saying? So, those are the moments I remember. Those we had some good times there, man.
You know what's funny? I feel like they literally selected like a literal super company for that deployment. They were just taken from
right,
everyone. They were like, he's an all-star,
right.
he's an all-star, an all-star. And we literally just brought a company of studs to Afghanistan.
Yes. Yo, and it's funny because my orders had Second Brigade.
Yeah.
So I think Ackerman ended up talking to Sergeant Major Bass, and they changed my orders, and then I was going to First Brigade, and I was like, all right, cool,
Oh yeah.
And it was funny because I knew Nagel too. Me and Nagel were E4s together at Lewis.
Oh, Nagel used to be a mortarman.
Yeah. So it was me, Nagel, and Ackerman. Me, Nagel, and Ackerman. So
wow.
yeah, we had some good times, man. And then I met you.
Oh yeah.
And we started hitting it off. I talk to a lot of people. I'm like, hey, to consider. I mean, we're all family, right? But like outside of like FRG events and company events, like you came to my house. You know what I'm saying? Callahan came to my house. You know my wife. Callahan knows my wife. You know what I mean? Vice versa. Even when we got out together. Remember? Dude, we got out together. And everybody's all talking to us and saying, you shouldn't get out. The Army's losing NCO, great NCOs, and you're the voice in my ear. Like, dude, there's better things out there than just being stuck in the military. And it's like, yo, I took you went to school, you got your master's, I went to school, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we still stay connected, like, even when we left. Like, I was showing pictures. Remember Joey's birthday party?
Oh yeah.
Yo, like, there I took my kids and we went to Jersey, went to the birthday party. I still have those pictures. So I was showing people when you went on TV. I was like, that's my boy, that's my boy. And, everybody's like, yeah, okay, blah blah blah. And I showed them that picture.
Yeah, they're like, get the hell out of here.
Everybody at my job was like, that was you? What the fuck? Look how big you are compared to this guy, bro.
Oh man, it's so funny.
Even 4th of July. Even 4th of July. You came over for 4th of July.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember, man. It's funny, dude. And that's like one of the biggest reasons why we started this whole thing is like everyone needs to reconnect again. And everyone that gets on the show, man, all the way from colonel to private, it doesn't even matter. Everyone gets off. They're like, I feel so much better. Like that was awesome. Yeah. I was like, dude, I agree.
There's this one time. So when I met Callahan, he was like, do you fish? And I'm like, yeah, I fish. I was coming from Washington. Yeah, I fish. So he was like, all right, you want to go fishing? So I was like, yeah, let's go fishing. Dude. So we go to Pulaski, right? This guy is banging on my door at 4 a.m. 4 a.m, he's banging, and Jess looks at me. She's like, well, who was that? And I'm like, oh my God. So I go downstairs. Callahan's at my door. He's like, you ready? And I'm like, dude, it's 4 a.m. He goes like, you said you like to fish, right? We get in the car. We go to Drapo's.
Yeah, leisurely, man.
Remember Drapo?
Right, Callahan. Remember who?
We went to Drapo.
Yeah, of course I know. Yeah.
So we went to Drapo's house to pick him up. And it's like 4:30. Callahan's like, this guy's not ready. And I'm like, I'm gonna keep calling him. He's not answering. No. So Callahan's like, I got this. So he goes and bangs on his door, blah, 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 blah. So he lets us in, and he's got these massive dogs, man. These dogs were so big, man. As big as dogs I ever seen in my life. and they're all like jumping over Callahan and jumping over me. We're sitting on the couch, Drapo's getting this stuff ready. So we drive down, and mind you, it's like freaking 5 degrees outside, man. It's 5 degrees outside. We got our waders and stuff. We finally get there. We're in the water, and I'm casting my line out, and I'm like, "What the hell, man? Why is nothing biting?" And I'm reeling it in, and there's ice just shooting off the eyelets on my fishing pole.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I reeled it in. My freaking bait and hook are all frozen together like solid ice. And I'm like, yo, Cal, this is why we're not catching anything. And he's so determined, man. He's like, yo, get a new hook, throw it back in there. We're not leaving until we catch anything. And I'm just sitting here like, yo, this guy is. that's,
I got a great Callahan story too, man. I'll tell it. It's a story for another time, man. But dude, you know what? I'm just gonna tell it because it's freaking funny. So when we went up to Michigan, this is like our first hurrah with Scout Platoon. Like we all thought we were bad. We had all these qualified dudes at all these cool guy schools, and we go up to Michigan, and we did rocket up there. So we're all sitting in this ORP, and dude, I had no idea Michigan had rattlesnakes. No idea. And all of a sudden we hear coming through the ORP, and I'm a fucking suburban kid from Jersey, dude. Like I'm looking at this, like, what the fuck? Dude, any school I went to, like basic, I hated that crap. I was always staring straight down. Like especially all these like cool guy schools you go to, these little schools, and you're only there for a few weeks, couple months maybe, and you're always outside in the freaking woods. So I'm always like petrified looking down. I hear these cottonmouth stories. And it was right after that dude Fish from Triple Deuce that for the Scout Platoon went to selection and got bit by a fucking cottonmouth during the selection while he was in the water. So I was like ultra freaked out. So we hear these rattlesnakes coming through the ORP, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck? I gotta play it off like I gotta be cool, man. I'm scared out of my fucking mind. And Callahan's like, oh, look at that fucking thing. And Warda, remember Warda, that dude from like Nebraska or something, takes a ski tool and cuts the fucking snake's head off, dude, with the ski tool. Callahan picks the snake up, and he looks like we have dinner, boys. Skins the snake and then starts salting it on the hood of his Humvee. And I was
oh my God.
What the hell are these people? Dude, he kept it like in his rucksack the whole time, just salting. And then it turned out to not be good. We're like, we can't eat that, man. But dude, these guys were crazy. These guys were savage.
Yeah. There's some crazy times, man.
Dude, I'm gonna.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I said I always get, do you always get asked that question? Like being you're a veteran of both wars, of which one was worse?
Well, different context.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you can go into whatever you want with those deployments, man. I don't know if that's really a fair question, though. You know what I mean? It's such a different war.
It is. But I only went to Afghanistan once. But I was in Iraq 3 times. So
yeah, different story.
So my answer will always lay with Iraq because the suicide bombers, the V beds, all that stuff. When the surge was happening, we had aluminum shields, man. Like,
yeah. I mean, listen, and it's also like you're talking about the technology that you brought to Afghanistan was vastly different than what we had in Iraq.
Right.
It's funny, dude. Like my first show we did here with Kelso. Now I deployed with Kelso. He was my doc on one of our deployments. So he was in obviously the Cornwall. He was in Restrepo and all that. So if you ask someone like him per se, or even someone who's some of those guys that we lost that they lost on that deployment, who've been to both Iraq and Afghanistan, I mean, they're going to obviously say Afghanistan because of that different context, different terrain, and it's the freaking Korangal Valley. But if you ask someone who was in the surge of Iraq, I mean, yeah, dude, you can just watch like American Sniper, and I think it's pretty easy. There's really no parity between the two, so to speak. And it's also like, dude, Afghanistan was funny and Iraq was funny too. It's like it matters what years you hit each on. So like if you
Right.
were in Afghanistan in 2007 to 2010, 11, it was mayhem. Then there was like a little lull, 11, 12. It started picking up in 13. And then I think 13, 14, 15, and then it kind of died off again. But
Yeah,
Iraq was kind
it's
of the same
definitely the
way.
same. Yeah, I was about to say it's definitely the same for both, man. Because my first deployment was horrible. It was probably the worst deployment I ever had, and it was 15 months. And it was like we went in '06, and we completed 8 months, and then everyone's in the DFAC like getting briefed on, hey, you got another 7 to do. You know what I'm saying? It was like that's some heartbreaking stuff, man. So,
Oh, it sucks.
yeah, yeah.
No, that was a different ball game too. Those 15-month deployments was
Yeah.
was you know I will say that the things that kind of at least would piss me off from deployment, obviously like the whole Maddox thing, man. I don't want to bring it up if we don't want to talk about it, but like situations like that would piss me off. That would piss me off on deployment big
Yeah.
time. And I always saw like it was always the young soldiers that went, man. And it's frustrating as a leader. It's like, fuck, man, like it's always these like 20, 21, 22-year-old kids that go, you know? But
Yeah. And that I mean, we should talk about the story because I remember that day like it was yesterday, man. I remember like Johnson and you coming up, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then
dude, we just got there.
just
We just
got
got there.
there, man. Like, I, I'm the guy like we just got off of doing something, so I went to take a nap. You know what I mean? And then like next thing I know, I hear everybody screaming, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on outside?" So I go outside, and next thing I know, there's smoke everywhere. So I'm like, this we were on that Andar was small, but when we were on Four Corners, man, Four Corners was like what?
No.
They were like, yo, it was like 14 laps was 2 miles. We were trying to do a PT test. We're like, what the hell is going on here? But then we moved to Andar, and it was bigger, but it wasn't. It's somebody's backyard, man. Like they're shooting recoilless rifles over the freaking barriers. It's hitting the barriers by the DFAC tent and stuff. And like I said, I remember you guys coming up, man. We're all just, shooting the shit, and like nobody knew that it was Maddox. Like nobody knew, man. Like we're like trying to get accountability and stuff. We're in the talk calling in birds, pals in the talk calling in birds and stuff, and you know that was a rough place. I remember we had the SF guys attached to us too, and they came rolling through the gate one day with like RPGs and their like warheads still stuck in their vehicle and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and like this guy was just like amputated, like from the waist down. Like, and everyone's sitting there. And I remember Acevedo and them, man. Like, I sent him to the aid station, and he's over there carrying this guy. Like if you weren't ready for war, you were that day, man. You
No,
were
no,
that
yeah.
day. And like
Yeah.
it brings me back to my first deployment, being not ready. Like we all, everyone preaches not to be complacent on things, but like I remember when I got there in August in Iraq in Mosul. As soon as I stepped off the bus, the mortar sirens going. I'm a 19-year-old kid. I don't know anything about all this. Just being from New York, you know about gunshots and all that
Right.
stuff. But like, you're in another country and this shit's going on, and it's like you're like, what the hell? And yeah, man, it's it's crazy. It took I watched flatbeds come in of people, Humvees, everything just RPG to the gunner hatches, and it's just peeling the back like can openers, man. And I told my platoon sergeant, I was like, yo, I'm not going out there. I was like, I'm not going out there. Because at the mortar platoon, all we had to do was we were doing FOB QRF, just protecting,
Right.
the gates and stuff and stuff. And then like they were like, yo, it's time for you guys to roll. So I'm like, I'm not going out there. And he was like, Sergeant Martinez, Sergeant First Class Martinez. He was like, oh, yeah, you are. And I was like, no, the hell I'm not, man. I watch every day. I watch this damn shit come in. So we ended up going out. And you know what? I was comfortable because nothing happened. Like nothing happened until December 12th, 2006, man. I'll never forget this day. Like we got into an ambush. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Missoula, but at the time, man, Missoula was like,
Oh yeah, no,
woo,
bad.
you know, and Route
Yeah.
Tampa, Route Tampa goes from what, Missoula to Baghdad, you know, and it was like everybody just wanted their CIBs, you know.
Of
That's
course.
that's
I mean that too.
that's a trap,
Everyone to a point CIB chases. I get it.
right? That's a trap we all fall into. We're like, you know, it's
You know
like,
what's funny
hey,
though?
you're an
Then
infantry
that
guy.
happens. It happens for the young buck, and then after that happens is when everything happens.
Oh my God, that's exactly where I was going. I'm telling you, nothing happened to us, blah, blah, blah. And then that day, man, we had this brand new lieutenant. And I remember Sergeant Martinez on the met. He was like, yo, you guys want to go around the traffic circle one more time to piss the lieutenant off, or you want to grab your balls and go around Route Tampa? So young 18, 19-year-old guys were like, let's grab our balls and go down Route Tampa. So I had this guy, Sergeant Hussey, he was my squad leader. He was like, all right, all right. If you guys get to some shit, don't be crying like little bitches, right? So we're good, we're good. So I was the 50 cal gunner on the Humvee. Yo, every truck got off the traffic circle, and then there was freaking 55-gallon drums. Boom, blew up. Right, missed every vehicle. Like if we didn't want to go down Route Tampa, we were going down Route Tampa now because we were diverted that way. Next thing I know, we stop and where everyone's like, "Yo, is everybody good? Check, check, check." Dude, this freaking white Caprice comes out and coming towards us was a tank company. So like we were like pretty much crossing paths. Yo, it goes in between my Humvee and the tank. The tank took most of the blast and blows up, dude. Knocked me back. I'm unconscious and stuff. I hear everything ringing. I can't see anything. You know, just white. My medic, Sergeant Q's pulling me. You know, Sergeant Hussey's pulling me, and I'm like, ah. And next thing I know, Sergeant Martinez, I come through. Sergeant Martinez looks at me. He's like, "You good?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Get your ass back on the 50." So I'm like, "Yo, reality set in though." You know, reality set in, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm going to die today. I'm not going home." Like, you know, I joined the army, and this is my first deployment. I haven't even been in the army in maybe a year yet. You know,
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
about to die here. Like, you know, we were in like an 8-hour firefight, man. 8 hours, 8 hours, and you know, I took. You just take things from people, right? I had this guy Sergeant Bell. He's like, he's probably the craziest guy I ever met in my life, man. Like this guy, he was an E6, and he would just cuss everybody out, and it was just like third or fourth deployment in '06. You know what I'm saying? He was just that guy, you know.
Yeah.
And I took a lot from him, and like just going back to you know when I ended up getting my stripes, you know, my second and third deployments, you know, walking down the streets because you know I was with the striker brigade. We're walking down the streets. You know, the striker would drop you off, and then you're walking like 6 miles that day. But you know, the strikers at another intersection. You guys meet up, and you know you keep going and stuff. Oh my god! And my soldiers are like, Sergeant Middlebrooks, did you hear that? And I'm like, yeah, keep moving. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was turning into Sergeant Bell, right?
Oh
And you
yeah.
know, like, man, I still do you still talk to your soldiers to this day? Like,
I do, man. I do. You know, we're gonna have some on too. It's but it's been a hot minute since I actually kind of sat down and talked to a lot of them. Probably a lot
right,
longer than you have. Seems like. But that's kind of
yeah,
how we lose touch, man, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing it.
right. So my thing is like when I left, these guys were like constantly hitting me up just for like professional like growth, you know, like questions. What should I do? Should I get out? Should I do this? Should I do that? You know what I'm saying? And not like it's like the greatest mark of leaving the military is people being able to still rely on you and taking up after the things that you instilled in them. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
damn, would Sergeant Middlebrooks do that? Would that piss Sergeant Middlebrooks off? Because you know, like I love my guys, but some of them, man, I would I would just be yelling, like Callahan would be peek, I'd yell at Furtall or something, and Callahan would peek in and be like, everything all right here, just like laughing and stuff. He was like, yo, what was going on? And yo, you really are a dad, man.
Oh yeah,
Dad.
it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, listen, we were spoiled though in Scout Platoon, man, because that platoon was like no other platoon I've ever been with. I mean, Scout platoons, man. It's kind of, I mean, listen, it's kind of like a mortar platoon in that sense of those are your guys that are always going to be there and you stick with them. Scout platoon was kind of like that too. When you're in a line, it's just, dude, everyone just, it's mishmash. They're in, they're out, they're out.
Oh
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Speaking of being that you brought up Scout Platoon, you know who I seen at my job a couple years ago?
Who?
Fresh, Lieutenant Fresh, or whatever his name.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Doing up there.
Dude, so I work at Range Ops, so I'm in my office, and on the when you walk in, there's like a bulletin, and it's like it's like Middlebrooks scheduler and blah blah blah, fire desk and blah blah. And they said this guy was just staring at the board, right? And I'm in the back, and he's like, "Huh, Middlebrooks?" And he's like, "That's not a name you freaking hear every day." And he's like, "Who's Middlebrooks? I got to see this guy." Right? So they come and get me. I come back. He goes, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" We relived that connection and stuff. And he was I think he was at Seton Hall, ROTC. So he would call me all the time. Hey, can you schedule this for me? Hey, can you schedule this for me and stuff? Like we just kept that connection. It was cool. And I saw Sergeant Bowman.
Oh my god, dude. The price you pay for doing a show on Friday. My little guy keeps getting in front of this light on this side. I'm like, dude, get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Sergeant Bowman. Remember Sergeant Bowman? Was it third platoon sergeant in Bravo Company?
Yeah, of course I know Bowman. They were out. They were completely out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so I saw Sergeant Bowman and stuff. We hung out on the ranges and stuff. It was pretty cool. So everybody, always. When I got out, I was still fighting like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So,
of course.
So actually, so I went to Pace University, and I looked on the thing, and I'm like, "Yo, you guys got judo as an elective?" And they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Sign me up." So I took judo. And I got a yellow belt for it. So I took judo in college, and I was going to Westchester, and I was doing all these tournaments, and I was just smoking everybody because judo is all standing, and nobody had any jiu-jitsu background.
Oh.
So the first day in class, right? I go in. We had so it's traditionally Japanese, right? So they have the white gis. So I was rolling at this, by me in this place called Yorktown, and I had bought this. I spent like 140 on this blue gi, right? $140. Had the patches sewn on and stuff. I was ready to keep going. And next thing I know, I go up to class with a blue gi on, and my instructor was like, "Get out." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What? I'm a grown ass man. I'm not no child in college, He's like, "Get out." He's like, "Judo is traditionally white. Take that off." And I'm like, "Dude, I just spent $140 on this." And he's like, he was like, "Buy one from me." So I had to pay him $60 for a white gi.
Wow.
But he signed me up for all these tournaments because I was just mopping everybody in Pace. Like it was like they would come up to me and
nothing else,
dude. Right? I fought some strong guys, man. But get back to everything is, dude. I'll never forget the day when I was in that tournament at Drum and you were my coach.
Yeah, dude. I used to love Duty's Dojo, man. My favorite was having all the lieutenants up there, like, "Oh yeah, I used to wrestle in high school." I'm like, "Okay,
yeah."
Come on the team. And that was our time for legal assault.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But when we would practice, and I would, because Price is still my boy. Like, what I'm saying? I went down.
Dude, man.
Dude, I went down and saw Price. like a
Really?
couple years ago. Yeah. No, actually, yeah, like 2 years ago. I went down. I saw Price for so my boy BJ renewed his vows with his wife, and we were all there. It was so cool. And I remember Price when me and Price first started rolling. He was like, "Yo, you ain't finna just be throwing me around like this." And you're like, dude, he's strong. And he was like, and you know what? Price was level 3. Was he level 3?
I
Or
don't I don't know what price. I think he might have been 2, but I mean, dude, the reason he wasn't level 4 is just because he didn't have time to go. I mean, that dude was an
right?
animal.
Yeah. And he was cocky. He was so cocky. And me and him, it was the scout. It was the scout office, the mortal office, the medic office. And every time I walked by the medic office, he'd be like testing me. And then we would just start rolling in the middle upstairs. On the walkway. We're just rolling. And then I remember when you had that thing, the BC was like, Duty, you're the man. This is your team. Take charge. And me and Price started rolling, and I freaking just threw him. He came back. He was like, "Yo, you ain't gonna be throwing me like that."
He was pissed, man. No, I rolled with Price a few times. That dude he was a tough dude, man.
Yeah,
he was
nice.
I mean, that dude outweighed me when I was in the military. I don't even know, man, by 100 plus pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a beast. Wow.
But like, I remember during that tournament, you're like, Joe, you gotta do this. You gotta do this. And I got this guy on the ground, right? And the guy rolls back and cracks my freaking pinky, and my pinky's like sideways. My pinky sideways. You're like, put him in this move. You gotta move. You gotta put him in this. And I'm just like, I'm just holding my pinky sideways, dude. It's sideways, and I'm still rolling, and I lost that match.
Oh my god!
I remember I had surgery on that. Like I ended up having like swan neck deformity, and the guy's like, "Yo, your tendons are wrapped around the other way."
Oh my god, man!
Like, I'm getting out. I'm getting out of the military, and I freaking can't move my finger.
Dude, those tournaments used to piss me off so much. You know what was funny about those tournaments is, like, first of all, we dominated the last couple of tournaments, which I love. But those tournaments were funny because you could have a match, and then like 5 minutes later, they call your name again because your bracket.
That's what happened to me.
No, I know.
Dude, I was so
smoked. Other brackets, they wouldn't call your name for 5 hours.
Right. I was so smoked, and they're like, Middlebrooks. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Dude, you're like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do.
Like, I'm right on the ground. I'm like this on the ground. Can't catch my breath and stuff. They're like, Middlebrooks. I'm like, what the fuck? Crazy, man.
That's
crazy.
Tenacity, man. I mean, dude, it's honestly like you can't prepare yourself enough for a 6-minute jiu-jitsu match. There's just no preparing for it. 6 minutes all out is the hardest thing like I've ever done.
Right.
Dude, even in wrestling matches, wrestling sucks. It's hard as hell, don't get me wrong, but you get little breaks. Like jiu-jitsu, it's literally 6 minutes straight. That's it, man. And dude, I was always in like a middleweight bracket. And so I went against the guys who were like in between, I don't know, man, like 165 and maybe like 160 and 175. So you get like the fast, scrappy dudes, and then you get like the 175 pretty jack dudes. And there was no in between. Like it was just you're fighting a brawler or you're fighting some fast dude. It sucked, man.
Right. You know how I started that? You know how I started jiu-jitsu? So I'm at Fort Lewis in 2008, and I had this soldier, Rod, and this guy was from I think it's from Compton or whatever, Spanish guy, and that guy was wild, man. He's a wild dude, man. And he would just leave during lunch and then come back, and I'm like, yo, Rod, where do you go for work? Lunch, and I'm his squad leader now. I'm like 22, 23 years old. This guy's 33, 34. And he goes, oh, I go to the fight house. I'm like, on post? He's like, yeah. He's like, yo, they tell me if you mop the mats, you can roll here, no charge or whatever, whatever. So he's like, you want to go? So I'm like, all right. no background. Like I did combatives level 1. That was it, you know.
Right.
So we get there, we're rolling and stuff, and then this little guy comes out. Man, he's probably like 5'6", like 160, right? And he's like, "How much do you weigh?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm 230." And he was like, "We need a heavyweight." And I'm like, "You need a heavyweight?" And he goes, "Yeah." So he puts me in this circle with 8 other guys in the gym, and he's like, 2 minutes on the clock. He's like, every time it buzzes, you roll to the next guy. So I'm like, all right. And I'm in a circle. So everyone's just watching me fight 8 guys, right? 2 minutes, roll to the next guy. So I'm like, shit, right? So I get to this guy, and he was like a master sergeant. He was like the combatives. I don't know what they were like the first sergeant or platoon sergeant, master sergeant, or whatever. And he's like, all right, I'm your last guy. So, me not knowing anything about, jiu-jitsu or anything, I'm just like, I'm just going to outmuscle this guy. Dude, we start rolling. I'll be the man that I am today, and I'll admit this. This guy probably choked me out 10 times in 2 minutes, bro.
Oh, yeah, man.
Like, to the point that I was getting so mad, man. Like, I was getting mad, dude. I was just like, right? So he's like, listen, you're strong as an ox, but you have no technique. And he's talking to me while he's putting me in a Kamara or some shit. Like, I'm like, what the hell is going on? So he's like, I can work with you. What brigade are you in? So I was like, I'm in 4th Brigade. And he's just like, oh, I can't touch you. You guys are deploying in a couple months. And I'm just like, yo, if all this entire time I'm watching my soldier go out for lunch somewhere, and I came to ask, where do you go? Like, what if I asked him that months or stuff previously? Like where would I have been? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think about that, and everybody else asks, like, do you think about still being in the military? And I do, right? Because to the point that everybody, all of our peers are going for freaking sergeant major and making it right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and then I look and I'm like, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I had a good run, but like, I would have never known like how great my son is at baseball. You know what I mean? Like, how great my son is at football. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that hushes the what ifs. Because it could have been like, I could have went on my 5th deployment with those guys at drum, and who knows if it would have been my time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I look at things like that a lot. So like, but yeah, man, I got out, you got out, we both went to school, and like, I went to school for mental health counseling, like, and I had this job in the Bronx, and the worst part of the Bronx, dude. I mean, I'm in the South Bronx, not from any neighborhood. I'm not from any neighborhood around there. And it's like, you got the Dominicans, you got, the black side, and they come together and they're like, who are you? Right. So I was a case manager at this mental health homeless shelter in the Bronx. And I was going out there, and, I kind of got abused a lot because there's 14 people in social services, and 2 of us were guys. So it was like, they got all the troublemakers and stuff, and they're like, give them Middlebrooks, give them the Middlebrooks treatment. So they're like, oh, this guy's got the military background, he can straighten these young guys up. That's what it was. But yo, some of those guys took offense to that. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, yo, I don't care who you are. And it turned out that way. And I'm like, oh, whoa, wait, man, I'm just trying to help you. And it took a bad turn, So like, I remember going to the store with this chick. It was her first day on the job, and she's like, "Can you come to the store with me?" Nobody wanted to walk alone down there. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was times, dude. I worked on Tremont and Anthony, and I'm walking from the Grand Concourse because there's nowhere to park. So you're forced to walk through these neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we're in the store. This guy comes.
I'm gonna edit it real quick. I got to get my kid out of this room, dude. I'll edit the show right there. And we'll go from Grand Concord. Hang on. This is ridiculous. Yeah, dude. Hey, I'm running a show, buddy. Okay. Here, you gotta play upstairs. Okay. Your food's here. Okay. Here, buddy. Buddy, you gotta play upstairs. Okay. Go ahead. I'll be out in a sec. Man, I took a big risk running the show tonight, man. Holy crap. All right, we're good. So you were going from the Grand Concourse.
Yeah, so you're walking through the Grand Concourse, going through all these neighborhoods and stuff, and like you're not from there, so it's like, one day we're in the store and this guy comes in the store and he's like, "Yo, you work at?" He says the exact address where I work at, and I'm like, "Yeah, I work." Because I'm thinking to myself, do I say no? And he goes, "I know you work there because I see you come out there every day." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Right? So this poor girl, man, she's just like freaking out. Like this guy enters the store, everybody leaves the store, the business owner goes down the stairs and he locks the door. He's like, "I just want to talk to you," and I'm like, "What?" So he asked me that, and he was like, "Yo, um, I asked one of the security guards, to handle something because one of the people that lived in the homeless shelter, and these guys all have mental health issues. He's like, he grabbed my wife and my daughter and was begging for money. And he's like, I talked to the security guard. He told me that's not my problem. He's like, what's your name? I'm like, Joe. He's like, Mr. Joe.
Joseph Middlebrooks?
He's probably like, oh, I know your name. Like, he's like, Mr. Joe. He's like, do you think it's his problem? I'm like, I think it's all of our problems. And he was like, good. So I hope you're going to fix it. And he's like, because if you don't, we're going to find out. And he's like, I'm going to know if you said something. And I'm just like, oh my fucking God, man. So I get back, I talk to the security guards and stuff. Next thing I know, man. And before that, I was the guy walking down the street. And when I got out, I was jacked, man. I was like,
yeah.
I was like 250, maybe like 15, 16%, like, and this guy's like, I'm going to know if you fucking talk to anybody. So I talked to him, blah, 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 told the security guard he was a dumbass type of stuff. And before that, I'm walking down the street and all these guys are on the corner and they're like, yo, where you from? You ain't from around here. I'm like, I sure ain't, man. I'm just going to work. And that was me just saying that on the by, like, blah, blah, blah. I'll just keep going. And like, this one guy stopped me one day and you had to dress business casual. So I had like some loafers on and some slacks and a button up, a collar shirt or whatever. And he's like, why are you wearing them shoes around here making us look bad? And I'm like, oh. I'm like, oh, here we go. I survived all these deployments to come to the Bronx.
Oh, yeah,
Yo, so like, after that guy talked to me in the store, nobody said anything to me, dude. I'm walking down the street. This guy's like, Mr. Joe. I'm like, sir. And I went to any store. I walked every block. Nobody said anything to me. And I'm like, yo, right. But it got really bad in that whole environment to like, guys are in the shelter. Guys are in the shelter stabbing each other with heroin needles, like just walking down the hallway. The guys are like, bam, 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 and then like one shelter, a lady got stabbed in the throat, and I was just like, yo, I can't do this anymore, man. So I went on USA Jobs, man. I see this stuff from Range Operations. I was like, oh, let me just try it. I put it in, I got the call, got the interview, and I'm in the interview, and I'm the first thing my boss says to me, he's like, tell me why we should select you over the other 18 candidates. And I'm like, I'm not getting this job. I was like, you guys already know who you want, man. Like, they were only taking 2 people out of 18. 2 people. Wow. But I end up getting a call. But like, for those who don't know, like, government job takes like 3-4 months. 3-4 months to get a call back, And like, I got the call back. I put my 2 weeks in the same day I got the email. Slid my 2 weeks. I had it ready, man. I was like, I got to get out of here, man. So like, it hurt, man, because I spent all that time. Yeah, I had still to this day, I have 15 credits for my master's, and they're all internships. And there's no way possible. So like, I looked I looked online, I was going to go the route you did, you know,
Yeah.
because my ideal goal is I want to train my son. When my son is of age, I want a gym in my house so I can train him. You know what I'm saying? So that's my goal. I'm still shopping right now. I'll probably, you saw that ISSA they're a college now.
They're at
Yeah.
college.
Yeah, they got master's degree, bachelor's degrees, everything now. So it's like I think it's like
Wow.
Lionel University now or whatever. So like, I was one of the guys at my job, shed light on that. So I was looking into it, and it's like I think it's like 9 months if everything's in quarters. So I mean, it's like 30 something credits for the masters or whatever. So I'll take my time. I'll probably just do that. So
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, it's what I tell people when they ask me that. They're like, what route should I take? Because I was an assistant instructor for this big certification, and it would be very easy to push people onto it. I think it's awesome, but at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters if you have your CPT, your CSCS, the degree in the field, so on and so forth. I think when it all is said and done, experience is going to trump all, man.
oh
And
yeah,
you have
dude,
a plethora of experience already. A lot of that is just the queuing models that you're going to use for people that actually understand.
but it's crazy. I have 3 personal training certificates, and it's
Right.
like I don't even use them. The only reason I got them is because when I got out, I was initially going to Manhattan College for kinesiology, and then I was going to move over to be a physical therapist. So
Yep.
I ended up getting a D in calculus, and I went. Dude, I'm in this calculus class, and there's nothing but freshmen in it, right? And
No,
like
man.
I'm like, yo, me and my teacher are the same age. And she's like, Joe, I'm sorry, I have to keep this pace. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're speaking right now. She's like, these guys took pre-calc. They took pre-calc in high school. And I'm like, yo, I graduated 13 years ago, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in this class.
No idea what's going on right now.
Dude, I'm in this class, and she's like, don't worry, your effort, you'll probably get a C out of it. So like midterms come, finals come, and she's like, you know what? I don't think it's right if I just do that and everybody else is trying. And I'm like, oh shit. So she's like, you have an option to withdraw from this class or stick it out and see what you get. And I was like, peace. I withdrew from that class, dude. And then I was like, yo, like, I'm done now. Like, so I switched majors and I switched schools. Like, it was crazy. But like during that time, like I signed up for all these, things. I got my NASM, I got, my ISSA, and I think I got ACE. So I had all these things, and like I was going to the gym, I would see people like from the side, and then like once I switched degrees, man, it was just like, why am I paying for continuing education credits when I'm not even using this? That's why I think the degree holds way more because you're not spending so much money every year. You know what I'm saying? You're spending, and to keep all of them active, no, no.
Well, that's the thing too. Is listen, just like in any field, man. I remember going to business school and then I got out and I finished and I was like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to start a company, and I did. And then I was like, wait, but I thought I had to use the 15 other classes I had to take, and the only one I used was how to make a business plan. And then I was like,
Right.
fuck, man, like what did I just do sitting and get my master's for an extra 18 plus months? So I mean, I think that the meat and potatoes, there's a lot of things obviously in a lot of curriculums and college courses that you're not going to use. I get it, but you just got to find what works for you, and then that's kind of what you're going to use and what you're going to take forward. But dude, we got to touch on your art, man. That is out of control. I don't think anyone had a clue getting out of the military. Well, in the military, no one had a clue at your art. And now it's like, dude, you're creating these crazy ass pictures. What got you into that?
Dude, I was always into drawing. I remember when I was like 5 years old, my parents were like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I'm like, "Just some pencils and a drawing pad." And I remember my mom got me this huge drawing pad, dude. It was like huge. And I filled that whole thing up, front and back, right? And like when I was in school, like I would enter all these magazine things, because like I said, like I was in 8th grade in Japan. And like, hello art, you know what I'm saying? And you know what's funny? Dude, my freaking high school art teacher lives by me. Dude, crazy. And it's crazy because she's from Long Island. I'm from Long Island. She went to Japan to teach. I went to Japan to learn. Came out of the military. I get this job at West Point, and bam, she was like, "I'm at West Point," and I'm like, "What?" And she's a freaking art teacher at West Point.
That's crazy, man.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy, and we like talk every day. She's like, "Yo, you have grown. Like your art skills have grown so much." Like they used to have this magazine in Japan. Like you submit all your art stuff and you get it in, and people like vote on your stuff and like that. And like I never like won or anything, but like my stuff was out there. I think it's like Sun magazine or it was weird, but like that's and like to this day, like between Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, no lie, dude, I probably had about 500 requests of people like, "Can you do this for me? Can you do a tattoo for me? Can you do this for me?" And it's to the point like I I barely get on Facebook. I just always post through Instagram. So it's like when I do open Facebook and it's like my messages are like, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't have the time for this right now," And it's like, so I use art. It's like therapy to me, It's like I don't just do it, just be like, "Hey, look what I done." It's like, yo, when I'm like feeling a certain type of way or whatever, like I try to express that emotion through the art. And it's like a lot of people don't understand that or get it, and it's like I'm not looking for likes or whatever that. It's just like, hey, this is what I could do, and this is how I'm feeling right now. And it's like not many people can get the uh, emotion through a brushstroke. You know what I'm saying? But it's like it's there, man. It's there. So like
it's like Bob Ross, man.
Yeah.
I used to always like turn him on and just sit and be like mesmerized. Dude, it's kind of the same concept. I look at your stuff, I'm like, I wouldn't even be able to draw the mouth on one of these people.
Yeah, and but the great thing is my wife fucking understands, man. She's like, it's not like, "Oh, you're downstairs again." You know what I mean? It's like the kids will try to come down. She's like, "Leave them alone." You know what I mean? I come up and it's like, bam, it's just like, "You just did that?" I'm like, well, yeah, like, yeah. So like, and like now both of my daughters pick up on it, man. Like we sit down and we have art school in the house. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'll put on YouTube on the iPad and I'm like, try to draw this. Try to draw the way exactly what this person is doing. And it's like the kid tutorials, like drawing whatever cartoons they like or whatever. And it's like they sit there and they're good, man. They're good. They're
kids
good,
pick up
man.
on
So
they're like sponges too. When
dude,
they're
my daughter,
stuff like that, great.
oh my oldest daughter is like, she's gonna be an actress, man. I'm telling you, man. She's like she's like on TikTok. She gets all these. I'm like, yo, you better be great in science. They're all here making slime and volcanoes and all this other stuff. She's like, oh, well, you got to mix this amount, this amount, and like she's like 9, and I'm like, one day she just comes downstairs. I think she was like 7. She's like, "Can I make brownies?" And we're like, "What?"
Brownies?
I'm like, "No," and she's like, "Come on, can I make them?" So we let her, and those things were good, man.
That's
Those
crazy,
things are good.
man.
Brownies and cookies, and she's like baking and stuff. She's watching Cake Boss on TV, and I'm like, yo, kids really do pick up on stuff, man. It like just like that.
They do.
It's crazy.
We weren't exposed
to
any of this growing up either, man. With the TikTok and the Facebook and Instagram, we didn't have any of that.
We had none of that. None of that. Like
it was literally Bob Ross. Like, here's Bob Ross. He's got a white canvas, and all of a sudden he draws a panda crawling up a tree. Like, what is going on, dude?
And you know what? I like because I watch YouTube like faithfully. I just love watching people draw, and it's something I pick up on. Like I'm like, oh, that guy did this way, so can I, you know? And it's like you go on YouTube and you type in Bob Ross, and it's all these big time artists trying to like paint like Bob Ross, you know? And they get there and they're like, they're trying, they're like, what the fuck is this, man? They're like, right? And they're like, how the hell did this guy do that? He's on TV, like, just like, we're just gonna paint a sky. Boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, it's a landscape, and you're like, whoa, wait. Did I miss a step? Like, you know, and it's crazy. And you know, a lot of people say that about me, like, you know, because I like try to post videos, like the time lapse videos, and people are like, "How the hell did you do that?" And I'm like, "Yo, like, I didn't just wake up one day and it happened, man. I've been drawing since I was 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's like you as a runner, and it's like, how the hell's duty so fast, right? One day you were just fast, like you busted your ass to run.
No, I did, man. When I was in the military, absolutely. No, it's 100%. Dude, that took me years to become like that. Years. I don't even know why I wanted to be like that, man. That was insane. But dude, I was running like 5-minute miles like a damn gazelle.
I know. I'm like,
it was insanity. I don't know, man. I don't, dude. When I got out, honestly, like I remember, I was like, all right, I'll just keep a solid base. And I did like the New York City Marathon. I did like the Marine Corps Marathon.
I remember that.
And then all of a sudden, I was like, fuck, man. I don't think I've run a mile in like 3 years, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine what my mile run is right now. If I did an 8-minute pace, probably.
What about your bike? You still biking?
No, man, I got off the saddle.
No, so,
I lift every now and then. I'm good to go.
I ended up buying that the Nordic one. It's kind of like the and it's got like Google Earth on it and stuff. And like I'm riding through countries and stuff. Man, I haven't seen that thing since March. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just sitting in my office right now because I'm like,
dude, I do little leisurely walks on the treadmill, little uphill walks, man.
That's funny because she wanted a treadmill, so she got the treadmill, and we put it downstairs. And I'm like, yeah, I was going to plan on ruck marching on it. I was like, yo, I could probably do 12 miles on here, you know? And yeah, whatever.
So forever, man.
Yeah, but this is like I wanted to keep fighting and stuff, you know. So I was like, yo, I need to add some type of cardio in it. So, but I don't want to run because I did all my running in the military, man, you know. And it's like we get this treadmill, we put it together. I step on it, and my head in the ceiling was like this, dude.
Oh my god, man.
Yeah, she's like, oh shit. I was like, yo, you didn't measure this damn thing before you got it? She's like, because the ceilings upstairs are taller. So downstairs in the basement is where we had it. And I'm like, I turn it on and I'm like this with my head on the thing. Like, I was like, this isn't gonna work, you know. She's like, I'm like, do you know it has an elevation to the platform when you stand on? It's not on the ground. So I never get to use that treadmill, and it's nice, man. It's high tech, has the big TV screen, you know. Like, we got the rower. I use the rower a lot.
The rower's nice, man. Yeah, I mean, dude, I still hit my cardio too, but just like you said, I think that, dude, in the military we go to such extremes. At least like what we did, we go to such extremes where you fucking torment your body. Like it's unlike being a recreational runner. I don't know. People like when we say we're going for a 10-mile run, like you're probably not really going to do a flat 10 miles. And especially like, dude, I had to run with Chenko like every day. So, bro, me and him had absolute wars. We talk about this all the time. Chenko was like the one person who could push my limit.
That dude's a different breed, man.
And dude, he's in the 173rd now.
Oh, nice.
He made it down on the 173rd. He was the only guy I knew that actually made it down there. There's so many people that tried to go, but he's a good fit, man. He is a different breed. Jesus Christ. Dude was such a savage. But I loved it, man.
Yeah.
I loved someone. It was like, dude, he would get like a 30 on the dot, and I would get a 30:01, and I'd be like, fuck. And then I would go home, I'd come back, and I'd be like, fuck you. I would just go in the office, sit down, and then the next day it was repeat. And it was just, dude, he kept me true. It was awful. Dude, we have like 2 minutes. I don't want this thing to cut out. What I want to ask is, because I could go on for hours, is any advice? You were saying like your old soldiers who call you and all that. Any advice you have for either soldiers that are in now or soldiers that are going to go through basic, go in the military, and have kind of aspirations to get where you were?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the biggest advice that I could say is there is life outside of the military. So it's like, everybody tries to keep the retention rates up, but like if only you know what career path or what path you want to take, it's only, it's instilled inside yourself. Like I got slack, people told me that I was selfish because I was leaving because I had a family. And, you're going to hear that, but there's no advocate saying, for people getting out saying, hey, you can do this, you can do that. And the biggest thing that helped me when I was in the military is when I got my degree in the military, right? When I came back from deployment, I signed up, got my associates, didn't touch my GI Bill at all. I just, the Pell Grants paid for it. And I ended up paying like $3,000 out of my pocket for the degree. You know what I'm saying? And when I got out, I had 77 credits for transfer to my bachelor's from my associates and just military credits. So it's like, dude, if you can save it, because just going to school for 4 years, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you're just going to get a bachelor's out of that. Like I was, it took me like 6 months to get my bachelor's, and then I just rolled everything over to finish, to try to get my master's. You know what I'm saying? But like, if I didn't have that, all the other vets around me were like, "Yo, I need something else. I can't afford this. I can't pay it. But I want to go get my master's." So it's like, I think it's a kind of a waste for 4 years, all that you put in and stuff. So like, if you can like get a degree while you're in, just do it, man. It's hard work. Me and you both went through it. We were in the field, papers and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you, whatever you want to do, you can do it. You just got to put your mind to it, man. For sure.
Good stuff. Man, I could go on for hours, dude. But we're gonna have you back on. We're gonna have you back on with Callahan's back too.
Oh my
Maybe
God.
We'll let a few shows go by, and then we'll get you right back on, man.
Dude, I'll be back whenever you want, man. Whenever you need.
There's plenty we didn't even touch on. That will.
I know.
We'll get it.
I know.
Maybe we can get Stimpow to come on this too. So Stimpow, if you are out there, I know you're going to be watching this show. We need you right here, sitting right in the I will pay to have you come on. You're burnt out, man. You're burnt out. Where's your pretend? Everyone's like, oh, shit.
Dude, my life was hell. When I was the first sergeant, my life was hell.
I know. Dude, I missed that. Good thing I'm a little ranger. I missed that guy. Just like a piston. Up, down. Up, down.
Damn, I wanted to tell you about him too.
No. We're gonna save it. Man.
Oh.
We gotta save for when Callahan's here. It's gonna be 10 times better. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
good
man.
Stuff, man. All right. Listen, that was Joe Middlebrooks. Joe, thanks for coming on, man. I hate to cut you off, but we're gonna have you back. All right, my man.
For sure. Appreciate it, man.